Well, good morning and welcome to our webinar on Context Nextimage tips and tricks. I'd like to take a moment and thank everyone for attending today. My name is Rich Geigel and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. I'd like to take a moment and introduce the cast of characters that you see in the thumbnails around your screen. First of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. Jerry Gooderow of Context USA. Jerry has decades of experience in the large format scanning industry. Jerry will be presenting with us today.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Rich.
Oh, and I didn't mention Jerry did not have a camera available, so you'll just see the icon over there, JG, of course. Secondly, I'd like to introduce Mr. Doyle Cryer. Doyle is with National Liaison. Hello, Doyle.
Hello.
Like Jerry, Doyle has decades of experience with wide format scanners and software, and I'd like to go out on a limb and say that Doyle probably has sold more large format scanners than anyone in our industry. So welcome, Doyle.
Thank you.
And finally, I'd like to introduce Mr. Andrew Brockhouse. Andrew, once again, is with National Liaison. He's our resident IT genius and software expert. And a lot of you out there who have attended these webinars before will be familiar with Andrew. He's done a lot of the hands-on demonstrations and presentations for context image scanners. So for those of you who have participated in these webinars in the past, thank you for being there in the past. Thank you for being here presently. And on today's webinar, we want to mix things up a bit and show off one of Context's greatest assets. And I'm, of course, referring to the Nextimage software, which is the application that drives the Context line of large format image scanners. A lot of us in the field kind of take that for granted. Nextimage is a program that has some incredibly powerful tools. It's not only a splendid image capture program, it's also an extremely powerful raster editing engine, and we're going to show you a lot of that hopefully today. So we've put together 6 different tips, and each of us will take a turn demonstrating and explaining at least one of these tips, in my case. And when we're done with all of that, we'll open the floor up for live question and answer period. Okay? So I'm going to kick things off with a really simple, but I think very effective tip on Context Nextimage. And let's jump right in and do it. So if you'd flip screens, please, let's show F1 tip. Okay, so I've got an excellent Nextimage tip for you today. It's short and sweet, it's effective. Frankly, it's a life-changing event if you're a reseller hoping to train or work with end users. So if we have Nextimage open here on the screen, over on the right side, you'll see that we've got 4 major menu categories. Let me just expand one of those. So I'll just go into image adjustment and expand that. And if I take my mouse and just hover it over image adjustment and hit F1, I get the image adjustment help screen pop up immediately, drilled right down to where I am and where I need to possibly check a feature or check how to operate a particular feature within Nextimage. And it's as simple as that. It's an online help screen, but it takes you directly to that feature set. Okay, so you could also get there by going over to the help screen here, saying Nextimage help, but it doesn't drill you right down to the feature set. All right, you could also right click here. We could create a shortcut to put this on the desktop. We could export this to Microsoft Excel. And some of the versions I've seen, you could export to OneNote, which might be very helpful. So that's it. That's my tip for the day.
Hey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully you enjoyed that and got something out of it. Did I hear Andrew say something?
No, the number of support calls we get, and the very first thing is that try and remind people is the F1 key is your friend, man. If you got any questions, you don't have to wait for us to get on the phone. Just press F1 and take a look at some answers.
I know Jerry agrees with that too.
Yeah, you don't even need to hit the help menu. You just hit F1 and you're right there on the tool you need.
Good. I hope that came in handy for people. So next up, let's look to Andrew. I think you've got a very important tip, Andrew, on setting up presets within Nextimage, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, without further ado, let's jump into Andrew's portion.
Okay. if you haven't gotten to know and love the preset functions, this is something you ought to really pick up on and use as one of your favorite tips. When I open up Scan, I notice I can have 700 different settings here for, sharpness and rotation and color settings and width and location. I even have functions for, of course, destination and file types, PDF, etc. I can save those as a preset here, and if you don't know how to make that work, click the just save as, and I'm going to just give this a name, Project X PDF. Okay, so I have any one of these things I can check. Those will be always fixed and saved. So for instance, my destination and save as file type and options will be saved in my Project X PDF. And I can have as many of these as I want. So if I want, color Project X, or black and white Project X, or landscape Project X, all those different things can be set, and it can be very quick and easy to get the best results out of my scans each and every time.
All right, beautiful. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, that's
Any
great.
comments
Video.
on that? Sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, I was just going to say that, it's so nice to be able to have a different preset for really each user that you have. And it's just that easy to set up, is exactly how Andrew was showing it.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know how to do that. So thanks, Andrew.
You've heard this over and over, Rich, in the field, that scanning service bureaus that have multiple operators working across multiple ships and then sometimes in multiple cities to get consistency and quality, standardize those presets from one machine to another and one user to another, and that can be saved in a commons area that everybody has the same presets to work with. There's certain jobs and contracts that are out there that require everything be scanned at a specific DPI, and we've heard instances where an operator will change the DPI and scan a few hundred sheets and it doesn't match. Presets can help with those things.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Doyle. We do have a number of customers who have national footprint, and they do set up those presets and basically instruct their operators to make sure that they're always picking those presets when they're scanning. So good point, good point. And so Doyle, we're going to look to you now for the very next presentation on a tip entitled File Naming and Indexing, and the floor is yours, Doyle.
Okay.
Here we go.
Companies spend a great deal of time in employee training on how to use their computer system. In fact, training is a perpetual process that goes on every day in your organization. What we don't want to do when we introduce a context scanner into your operation is to change the need for the operator or create a need for the operator to learn a new system. This is a simple thing, but we want to empower that operator to be able to go in and do things as simple as changing to a directory using normal browse routines that we see here, typical just straight Windows command, so they don't have to learn anything there. File names, the same as naming a file when you're in Microsoft Windows. And in this particular case, very easy to change file formats from TIFF to PDF, PDF to TIFF, whatever the case may be there. One thing that's a little bit different with the software, and it's some of the folks that have been around long enough to remember the origins of the software, you can actually create directories on the fly here without having to browse out of the interface, simply by taking and typing a test directory and adding a backslash to it at the end of the path in the save in. This will actually create the directory or folder for me as I scan. Little neat trick that's out there. Also, batch scanning. If we've got the scanner in batch mode, we want to be able to have the operator effectively become a sheet feeder. Then all we have to do is click on the Insert Field button. We're not having to learn any type of magic commands for database programmers or anything along those lines. So it's going to set this up to where we're able to use a counter. So every time it scans, it's going to increment the file name by one. Other systems in the past, this would be a matter of doing something like that, and the operator would have to know to type that each and every time that they wanted to create a batch file. Here, it's an easy insert field. Choose the number of digits on the end. We could also put our dates and our times in here as well. So we're going to set it up from there, and at that point, you're ready to scan.
Very good. Thank you, Doyle.
Well,
Any comments?
yeah, definitely. It's the automatic folder creation. I totally forgot that's in there. I'm going to use it again because I forgot that was all that was in until you brought it back up.
Yeah, and the auto naming for being able to just insert a field rather than having to know any sort of programming convention, even a simple one. Just click it, put it right in there, time, date, stamp, whatever you might need. Makes it so easy.
Yeah,
When
great.
when an operator actually uses the batch process in conjunction with the auto file naming, and especially when we have our zero turn system set up with it, literally the operator is becoming a sheet feeder, and it's the max amount of production you can get out of a machine. It works as fast or
Right.
faster than the operator can.
And in archiving, that's what we're all aiming to do, right, Doyle?
Yep.
So thank you, guys. Okay, next up is Jerry. Jerry, I'm going to throw it over to you. Jerry's going to present several tips on color replacement and file reduction. Take it away, Jerry.
Sure. My next image tip is for using the color reduction tools to reduce the file size on a large format color scanned image. And this is also a great tool to remove background discoloration from old maps and pictures. So let's take a look.
Many of our users will be familiar with our Nextimage software for the scan or the copy modules, but maybe not so familiar with our file application module. This allows you to work with existing images or other scan projects you may have inherited from other users. And if what you see here on the screen is an engineering blueprint, but that could certainly do with some cleanup, and it would be fine if it was a nice black line work engineering drawing with a nice clean white background. And we'd also like to go ahead and keep some of our red markup here. Now, in our image adjustment, we could change this to a grayscale 8-bit file. We could also select to make this a monochrome 1-bit file. But if we wanted to go ahead and keep our color work, we can change this to an indexed or a 256 color image, and we can even further reduce that down to say 16 colors, and we can merge some of those colors together. We can also use the software to redefine. So our markups, we're going to make our basic red, and the beiges and browns that we have as our background white information, we'll merge those all together, and then we'll redefine those as our white background. What we're left with is a few blues and grays that we can then bring together, and we can redefine that as our black line work. Now what we have is a 3-color black and white image with a red markup line. We could save this to our original file, or we can also save this to a new file that we have with an auto naming numbering sequence here. And if we open up the original, we still have our true color old blueprint, but we also have our new adjusted image with our white background, black line information, and our red markup. This is something that you can do to reduce some colors on some 24-bit color images, and also prepare some drawings for importing into CAD files as raster layers. I hope this helps.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Great one. I really like that. Doyle, have you got a comment on that?
I do. This is somewhat misunderstood among users when we do training. But if you take spot color markups and mapping in a lot of cases, you don't have a lot of colors that you're trying to capture. And rather than going with an uncompressed TIFF or a TIFF that's in 24-bit color where you've got a 16.7 million color palette, it's not that hard to capture yellow. A few colors, 16 or 32 colors, you get a severely reduced file size, and it's just a lot more efficient overall. And most people fail to use this when it would work perfectly for their operation.
Yeah, and that's a great tip. File size has always been very important when you're in an archiving setup. So thank you, Doyle. Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, no, I
Sure,
remember.
and you don't need 16 million shades of the red pen or of the yellow highlighter.
Yeah, right. Especially in technical documents, right?
Right. If you just need to capture your base information and a couple of key colors, or like Doyle said, on a map, you need 16 or 28 colors on a map, something like that. You can dial it right in.
Yeah, mapping is so key for that sort of thing. Especially, you have a key. Hey, what do you know, right? And then you can get your colors all to sync up together. A great solution.
Okay, thanks, guys. And now we're going to move back to Doyle. Doyle's going to make a presentation on his tip for simple file cleanup. I think this is an incredibly important tip. Doyle, take it away, buddy.
Okay.
No matter how good your scanner is, you're going to have some originals that have a challenge that even with the best optics in the wide format scanning industry, we're going to pick up things like this toner edge here and some loose spray. We don't want to commit this file, even though it's exactly accurate to what the original looks like. We don't want to commit this file to our library or our archive with these flaws in it. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to go in and remove the background, take out the toner spray. We're going to bring up the line work in the lighter areas, and we're going to align the file, and then we're going to crop out the area that we don't want. And I'll show you how fast this can be done here. So we're going to take the white point in. That's going to take our background and fade that out. It cleans up that area. We'll zoom in and have a look here. And the lighter areas on the text, we're going to bring that up with the black point. So the black point and the white point are effectively separating the background and the foreground in the image. So what we want to do now is we're going to grab 2 points on a line here. And we're going to tell it that this should be straight by clicking the apply button. And it changed it 1.9 degrees to the right. Now all we have to do is crop the drawing. We'll bring it in using normal crop commands. And at that point, all we have to do is click the save button. And the file has effectively been changed and is saved in this manner.
Doyle, thank you. Very good tip, very effective. Andrew?
Hey, I love the way you use the white balance to make some changes to your file and improve it so much. I got a tip coming up here in a minute that also explains that, but the way you made it so simple and powerful was impressive.
Yeah, good point, Andrew.
Yep, and all those steps in just a few seconds.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Users of older context scanners understand how far this software has come because they used to have to literally leave the scanning screen to go back and make the changes and then come back in and save those as a preset to actually apply them, which required a rescan. Yeah. The re-image feature inside the Nextimage software totally separates it from anything.
Absolutely great point. Like I said earlier, Nextimage has become just a tremendously powerful image editing tool. So good point. Thank you, everybody. So we've got one left. And we're going to throw that over to Mr. Brockhouse again, Andrew. He's going to present a tip and trick entitled The Value of White Balance Point and Color Scans. This, again, I think is a really important tip. And, this has been a great little session. I hope we have a good session of question and answer afterwards. And I hope people like this because I think there's a lot more we could do. So I'll probably end up doing this again. So, Andrew, I'm going to throw it to you right now for your white balance point demonstration, and then we'll go right into question and answers, okay? Thanks, guys.
For this tip, I'm going to have I already start with Nextimage open. I'm going to scan something I think everybody else has hopefully seen before. Let me press scan here. I'm going to scan the calibration card in my scanner. For those of you the graphics units, you recognize this. And what we'll see is in the color photo default section. Now, normally you just use this target for calibration, but I want you to understand that this is an example of the level of whiteness that we deal with in different scans. The calibration card has this cute little barcode over here that says that had a spectrophotometer view the white point on this and the black point on this calibration card, and that's what this is. And it reads the scanner reads this and the white areas and the black areas and matches up to do its calibration for its white and black. That's how it knows things work. But that being said, if I look at this scan and if I try a more traditional color scan, I'm going to put this drawing in, hit my batch, and tell it to scan. The white point for a dingy piece of paper, 20-pound bond that all of our CAD guys are actually printing on, is way different than our calibration card. And if I just go into here under options and select the image adjustment function, I have a function for levels. And what's super important is this white point. Okay, let me click the auto real quick and let's see what we get. Okay, we auto the white point. And if I change this from color photo to the standard color CAD and map, okay, I get a difference. They changed the GAM of 1.8. and the white point moves down to 200. But, I seem to like this particular bond is a really crappy bond. I've got another setting here. Let me switch over to that. And I've adjusted my black point up because I know where that's going to be to get to the black. And the same thing for my white, I adjusted. And this is a much more pleasing color scan, much more close to the original that we want to have come out. Additionally, one of the things that I get a lot of people will say, I get these little streaks from debris that ends up in my scans, especially when I talk about older originals. The white point is going to balance that crap out. Okay, and typically when I get to so let's start with the next drawing. So this is a nice CAD drawing that's a white and color print. But you'll also get a bunch of older yellowing style scans. The image never, okay, that's fine. Okay, we'll start scanning the next drawing. You end up with drawings like this, right? A little bit older, they've aged on paper, they turn kind of yellow, but you still need to get those highlights and you just got to scan them in color. Now this drawing is actually all yellow, and I don't want it to print out yellow. So I may adjust my white point even further to bounce out the yellow background on the sheet. It's not changing anything on the drawing itself that's valuable, but when I print it, I won't be using yellow ink to print old aged paper. Okay, so again, this is your biggest friend in doing scanning, and you really ought to work on understanding what it does for your scans. I mean, again, so that was some simple highlights, but let me just put in something. It's always, always, always about the end product. What does the customer want? What are they looking for? Okay, does this customer who wants this thing on Bob Seger's at last launches that article, or if he wants his Oscar nomination, look, the color is different of the original already. So what do we can adjust it even more to get a much more white color even on a newsprint. Okay, so does the color matter so much? Will this adjust your color? Yes, it'll definitely adjust your color because yellow we're getting rid of it. Okay, but it's really about the end product. Learn to adjust your white point. Okay, this is closer to the original, but nobody wants it. Everybody wants it somewhere around here. Okay, so that they can have a good product to sell. Learn your white point. Recognize that you can use presets to set for different kinds of drawings and get excellent results.
We're back. Andrew, thank you. Another great presentation. I appreciate that. I think all of them have been really done well today. So thanks, guys, for your participation. Comment on that. I think that was like the third or fourth video that included something about white balance. So I think we can all see how important that is. If you're a novice user of Nextimage, I would probably experiment with white balance on a number of different originals prior to an archiving project. But any other comments on Andrew's presentation? No, Jerry? No? They're speechless, yeah. Okay, so as I have aforementioned, we're now going to jump into the Q&A portion of the webinar today. And if in the past you haven't been participating in ours, on YouTube, if you want to ask questions, you should see a chat window in the right corner of your screen. However, if you are not logged in with your Google credentials, you may not see that. So if you do want to ask a question, you can go to info@azon.com or log out and log back in using your Google credentials and then type into the chat window. So actually, this is great. We're seeing a bunch of questions come up right away. So let's start with, what can I do to reduce file sizes when saving scanned documents? Good question. Jerry, I think you should probably know the answer to that.
Sure. So in large format, the key really comes down to resolution. So, 2 to 300 DPI for low resolution archiving, 3 to 400 for high resolution is usually sufficient for most people. But if you have a requirement for a certain, can't scan below a certain resolution, and it's a color file, the video that showed the color reduction, that will also, those techniques will also reduce the file size as well. So that's a great way to get a smaller, large format color file.
Good. Very good.
Rich,
Thank you.
one other comment along those lines. This gets missed a lot. The compression under each of the file formats are optimized within Nextimage, but they can be adjusted. So if when you look at Nextimage, you've got your file format on the right side. There's a little plus button on the left side of that screen. When you expand that, it shows you what compression it's using. For instance, PDF color is a JPEG compression. TIFF color is an uncompressed or an LZW compression. And the compression underneath the file format will help you some. Context does optimize those. It's a group 4 file format for black and white files, which is as good as it gets.
I think that sounds like a good tip for the next time we do this, Doyle. You can show that, right? So both good suggestions. Thank you, guys. I have another question here from Catherine. Catherine, thanks for attending. Is there a way to correct auto cropping for ragged edged items? Excuse me. We're having an issue with losing the edges and have to manually adjust the crop.
So if I understand the question correctly, when there is a ragged edge on the drawing, then basically the cropping is set to the wrong place in the scan. Just a couple of points. If you have a tear in the top of the drawing, depending on the scanner that you're using, that could accidentally crop the drawing in a closer spot when it's measuring the width of the document. So you'll see cropping there. That can be taken care of in 2 ways. One of them is that you can change the rotation with the document to get a good edge on both sides, or you can also manually set a size as far as width within the scan function of the scanner upper right corner, and scan to a specific size if you've got consistent sizes. At that point, when you load the document, you're always going to get a 36-inch scan if that's what you've got it set to. If you're getting intermittent results with that, as far as those edges, we would like to talk to you offline and get a look at those, maybe with a Zoom meeting or something along those lines, so we can get a feel for it.
I think one little tip to add in on that is, and this may not have any relevance, but make sure you don't have any paper sizes checked off that you're not using. So if you're only using architectural sizes, just have that set rather than the ANSI and the AO size, the European sizes that are available in our presets. So that way the auto crop is not searching through too many strange size frames to apply to the drawing.
Where you turn off the paper sizes is under Tools and Options at the upper left-hand corner, and you'll see a series of checkboxes there that will include ANSI, ISO, architectural, and engineering. Older scanners use that information a lot more, like the HD Ultra. Before the Ultra X's came out, they were specifically designed to snap to specific sizes that you had set up in ANSI and engineering.
Okay, all good suggestions again, gentlemen, thanks. Okay, another question here, follow up from Catherine. We have noticed that some selections, such as 90-degree rotation, stay selected when a new person opens Nextimage. Is there a way to avoid this? Those things are annoying to me too, so. Doyle or Jerry?
Is that person logging in under their own Windows credentials?
Yeah. We don't know that. So let's assume that they are
Okay.
a separate set of credentials. Okay, right?
If they're logging in under a separate set of credentials, the software should default back to the place that they left it. So if the rotation was turned on, then it will still be turned on. But the other way to avoid that is to set up the rotation inside a preset. And at that point, after you're done, you can move away from that preset that calls for the rotation, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah. I hope that helps, Catherine. All right, let's move on. Richard has asked a question. The glass in my context scanner is scratched. Any recommendations on fixing that? Replacement glass, question mark. Can I replace the glass myself, or should a technician do this? It's a good question. It depends on the scanner, obviously, Richard, that you have. We do have on the azon.com website, we have some support videos. I believe that there are a video or two up there about how to change the glass. But the glass in most context scanners is really easy to replace. You can purchase that directly from us. Go to azon.com and find the model number of the context glass. Let us know, or info@azon.com. We will help you with that. But generally, that's a user replaceable item. Doyle, Jerry, any follow-up to that?
Also, on a new piece of glass, once you do replace it, it's once you have some scratches now, it might be too late. But on a new piece of glass, if you treat it with some Rain-X, I know our technicians like to recommend that to give you a little longer life from scratches on the glass.
That's a great point. And to follow up on that, we're always asked what to clean the glass with, microfiber cloth. You try not to use any harsh detergents, so Windex is not recommended, but just like an alcohol-based cleaner, right? And again, microfiber cloth, but clean it real good. Some of the glass too, you can turn it 180 degrees. So if you're getting scratches maybe on the left side where you're scanning a lot, you can turn it 180 and maybe avoid scratches on the right side then. So you can save your glass for a little longer, because it's not cheap.
Just one note, the Ultra X series scanners have had some design changes to put the pressure points on that glass as the documents are feeding through away from the scan lines. And we're seeing definite improvement in scratching the glass.
For
Ultra X too, changing the glass is a breeze because it's on a magnetic carrier.
And like little hinges as well. It just flips right up.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to a few more questions here. They're continuing to come in. So, and Richard said to us, thank you, great info. Again, I'll say again, 10th time, info@azon.com. Any questions like that, just let us know. Let's see. Can I scan just a portion of a document? My answer to that would be, sure you can. Scan the entire document, just use the cropping tool very quickly and crop it out and save it.
because you don't have to rescan. The reimage portion of that raster engine does a great job. Am I correct there?
Yeah.
One little,
I answered something right? Right, great.
one
Do this
little
for a living.
trick Rich, one little trick that gets missed here, and we've had some applications where people want to split out multiple images from a single image. Pay attention to the crop area on the right side of next image. You can define a box size there, like 11 by 17, and it literally is as easy. You'll see a circle in the center of your image. That's the center of your image, but when the crop size is set, you literally can take that box and drag it across to the area that you want, and it will cut out a 17 by 11 area. If that's what you want cut out, you just have to hit the update button and you're good to go.
Great, excellent. Thank you, Doyle. Moving on, is Nextimage compatible with Windows 10 and Windows 11? So we're starting to get this question a lot about Windows 11. The answer is yes to both of those. And I think,
Yeah, the latest
Jerry, if I'm not
release,
mistaken-
Nextimage
Go ahead.
5.4.4 is Windows 11 compatible.
repeat that, Jerry, because I walked over you.
Oh, the latest release, Nextimage version 5.4.4 is Windows 11 OS supported.
Okay. And let's do a follow-up to that. How do I upgrade to the latest version of Nextimage?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Context.
software download section, I think, on our site. I'm not sure if you guys also have.
We don't
small-
have it, Jerry, because your
Okay.
site is more up to date. So go to context.com, go to software and downloads. They'll ask you a few simple questions about the vintage of your scanner, and then they'll recommend the latest version of. There's actually two different softwares you need to download, which is Nextimage and Wide System. Is that correct?
Right. Yep.
Okay. And
So
those
you
are-
get, there's the wide system download page and the Nextimage pages. And best thing to do, of course, is to just check the release notes for the latest, to look for scanner model support and Windows OS support listed.
That is important because there's some legacy scanners out there that have lasted forever
Yeah,
that are not usable past Windows 7, like the G600 series back. Those will not upgrade to Windows 10.
they still
it's
work great.
very, very typical for our context scanners to outlast everything they're connected to.
Yeah,
Computers, interfaces, no longer FireWire or SCSI plugs into anything, and printers, and they're kind of the last thing standing in an office.
thanks, Jared. So we got a couple more questions here. They just keep coming in. We'll keep doing it as long as there are questions here. What is the difference between Scan and Archive and Repro? We get that constantly. I'll throw out my 2 cents on that. First of all, Repro software allows copying to inkjet and toner-based devices. So that's the biggest difference between the two. Nextimage Repro also has simple accounting, which could push information out to a spreadsheet for you. And there is also the ability to do or recognize or create, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, create ICC profiles within Repro versus Scan and Archive. The two softwares look absolutely identical in the interface. Again, there's just some slight differences, the main one being the copy function. He said it's a CLC, it's a closed loop calibration that is available in Repro.
One thing that's important, Rich, that is with the closed loop calibration, the settings there for presets and that type of thing for the scanning will carry forward to the Repro side for copying. So if you've got something set up that works great for your scans for white points and black points, that will carry over for Repro. So that will show up on your copies as well.
Okay, that's good to know. I have one other question, unless others come in. Is there an adjustment when scanning delicate older originals? An adjustment to the scanner, I presume they're saying, or maybe it's software, but there can be both. On the Context HG Ultra X model, there is a feature called Feather, which is a switch that you initiate to scan delicate originals like onion paper and newspapers and again, very delicate archived originals. You can also put documents into carrier sleeves, which we sell, info@azon.com. And that's about the breadth of my knowledge on that. Doyle,
And then-
Jerry, anything to throw in?
In the Nextimage software, there's also a soft handling
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
kind of little checkbox that will slow down the mechanics of the scanner. So you've got
Can't
something
you
delicate in
also,
there.
Jerry, can't you also adjust the input on the scanner so that when it grabs the original, there's a pause there?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You can set the delay for
Right.
for the entry. So it really can slow it down with the software. And then the best scanner, as you mentioned, HD Ultra X series for thick media as well as delicate originals.
Yeah.
And that's also the scanner that Doyle mentioned for keeping that the pressure off of the original out of the sight line, the scan line in the scanner, elongating the glass, but also giving you much less wear and tear on the originals up against the glass.
Yeah,
So-
and as we had also mentioned, it's really easy to change the glass in that product, and
Right.
so that's good.
So,
That's
so
the production scanner preferred by most print service providers. So
Archivists, all sorts of things.
Sorry,
so the
Doyle.
big here, the X series, both the Quattro and the Ultra X now have adjustable speeds on top of the scanner. So that's
Yeah.
a setting the operator can reach just to the right.
That's true.
side.
I love that feature.
Yeah, that's
From the
very cool.
operator panel, yeah.
That had to be done in the past with about 4 clicks in the software and someone having to set up the transfer speeds to slow the scanner down.
Most
Now it's all-
people aren't that fast.
Yep.
And I think with anybody that's handling any real delicate originals, just the nervous factor, you want something where your hand is right on, whether that's controls for speeding up or slowing down the scanner, but just have something that you instantly stop everything what you're doing. You're not grabbing at a mouse to do something on the screen and this and that.
Yeah.
That's very key for a lot of archivists, I think.
Agreed, Jerry. Yep. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I have no further questions. So let me just take this opportunity to thank everybody for participating today. I thought it was a really good event. I see more in the future. Thanks to everyone here at Azon for running all the boards and doing all the stuff you do. Thanks a lot. Info@azon.com. Thank you again. Look forward to talking to you in the near future.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. Have a great day.
Thank y'all.